Welcome to this press conference of the European Data Protection Board. Anu Talus of the Finnish DPA has just been elected the new chair of the EDPB for the next 5 years, and Irene Nicolaidou as the deputy chair for the next 5 years. And we will start this press conference with some words from our outgoing chair, Andrea Jelinek. Please, Andrea.
Thank you, Grete. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this press conference. It is really my pleasure to inform you and to tell you that Anu Talus has been elected as the new chair of the European Data Protection Board. Anu, you will do a great job, I know this. Congratulations. Anu will lead the work of the EDPB in the coming 5 years. As outgoing chair, I'm glad to be passing on the baton to Anu, who is well placed to take on this responsibility. Anu has a long been and well-respected member of the EDPB. Her long-standing experience is valued by colleagues, and I'm confident that under your lead, the EDPB's impact will continue to grow in the coming years. All the best. And with this short intro, it's my pleasure to pass the floor to you, Anu.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you very much for your kind words. It's been a pleasure working with you with these years, and you have done an excellent job building the foundations for the EDPB. I really appreciate the work you've done. And thank you all for showing the interest and coming here today. And I'm very honored by the trust shown by my colleagues and putting me in this place. We have a lot of work ahead of us. We have now a good, solid foundation to build on. The previous Andrea has done a lot of work to build the EDPB from scratch. So a lot have been achieved already during these 5 years, and now there is still some more work to do ahead of us. So I think that there will be, for example, very important. Well, we must ensure that the EDPB will remain and be a very strong institution, very strong body. We are about to have a new situation with new data legislation with the data protection package, and it is of utmost importance that the EDPB and the competencies are clear in this new situation, this new upcoming overall framework which we will have. And well, I think that with these words, I could pass on the floor to Irene.
Thank you, Anu. Good afternoon to all. Today, the EDPB delivered the message that all supervisory authorities, irrespective of their size and geographic location, can serve the EDPB from elected positions. I am from Cyprus. A new chapter begins in the EDPB leadership. For me, the main channel will be to continue, of course, along with the new chair and the second vice chair, but also take forward the successful work of the previous leadership. As the new chair says and indicates, hard work lays ahead. We are all committed to carrying out this work, of course, to the expectations of the people we serve. That's for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We now have some time for questions and answers. If you have a question, my colleague Sarah there has a mic, or you can go over there. Please, every time, state clearly your name and the outlet you work for.
Hello, congratulations, Anu, and I am Laura Linkomies from Privacy Laws and Business Reports. Now, you already mentioned the new data protection package, and I think we're all very interested in the AI Act and, of course, the EDPB priorities in this field. Now, just recently, the European Parliament adopted its negotiation position, and there were some changes to the concept of high risk. They are basically saying that this should now also include harm to people's health, safety, fundamental rights, or environment. So do you have a personal view on the extension of this definition? And is the EDPB going to issue another opinion? Because I think the original one is actually from 21, so it would be nice to have an update on this. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, we will ask somebody else if they have a question. They can go to the microphone, and then Anu will answer several questions at once.
I'm Stuart Dresner, also from Privacy Laws and Business Reports. My question really is to Irene, because it's very good to have a geographical balance between the two of you. And I wondered whether you plan to use your position, speaking from Cyprus, to encourage working together of data protection authorities in the Mediterranean region. Of course, you have the well-established leaders, Italy and Spain, and Greece not so prominent, but there. But there are other countries very active, Morocco, Israel, and other ones coming up with a new law, such as Egypt. So will it be part of your mandate or ambition to bring these countries together in some sort of useful regional cooperative effort? Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much for the question. As they say, the more the merrier. I mean, one of our goals, we have discussed it before as well, is to try to understand each other's concern more. Not only the Mediterraneans, but all of us, because as you know, even though we have a different size, we have the same vote. We are equal. So the goal is to try to understand and listen our concerns more. And, of course, strengthen our relationship. We have started this strengthening by the Venice. We had the Venice meeting. It was an informal meeting that actually did value. We were informal meeting that counts a lot for us. And we set let's say, the standards to go forward. Thank you.
Okay, and
Do you want to answer the question of Laura first?
well, unless there are some more questions, I could take more questions at the time. But
Good afternoon. One question. My name is Maris Rukers. I'm from Latvia, privacy expert, data protection expert. About a year ago, EDPB introduced external experts for data protection. I was approved as one of, yes, but I recently have only one mail to attend seminar, some kind of seminar. Will it be a real direction to use external experts for the work, or this is just maybe you can make a comment on this. Thank you.
Okay, this is about the support pool of experts. So we can assure you that this project is in full swing. We've hired several experts that are working on a number of projects. And if there is a project that suits your profile, I'm sure you will be contacted. More questions?
Hi, it's Sam Clark from MLEX. I think My main question is about the EDPB's upcoming litigation that it's going to face. It's going to spend a lot of time in court, primarily in relation to appeals by Meta against various decisions that the EDPB has made, but also in relation to the case brought by the Irish Data Protection Commission against EDPB. I just wondered if you could say anything about how you'll approach those cases or what you think about them in general, and if you expect this to happen more often as the EDPB takes an increasingly big role.
Thank you for the question. I could actually start with the question that which Laura Linkomi has made about the AI and EP's new adopted document. We have our opinion from April 22, and unless there are significant changes which would require us to reassess our opinion, normally we would give only once the opinion on each legislative proposals. But of course, it is not excluded that there would be the possibility in case the board sees that that's necessary. And then getting back to those more detailed questions, maybe this is something that we can then come back on bilateral means. Then about the EDPB's upcoming litigations. When we have legal disputes, that's part of the process that they can be appealed. And when we make legally binding decisions, that is a normal possibility for the follow-up of these processes. I assume that we will have more Article 65 cases because our system is now in full speed, so to say. So because our system is full speed, it brings more the possibilities also for the Article 65 cases. EDPB has made the binding decision when it has adopted the decision in these cases, and at the moment I don't see that there would be any reason to reconsider the EDPB's approach in these issues.
Thank you. Are there more questions?
Good afternoon, Matthew Newman from MLEX as well. Thanks very much for your explanations on the Article 665 and the procedure there. Another big question for you is coming up next month with the European Commission's proposals on procedural, let's say, reforms or changes. And the EDPB put out a wish list back in October 2022. It's about procedural rights, rights of parties. And I'm just wondering if you look at that list now and what you might expect coming out of the Commission in a couple of weeks, if you may have a sneak peek, if they gave you a little advanced peek at what they're having. Does it meet your expectations? Do you think that they're addressing the right things? Do you think they've gone far enough to really smooth over some of the procedural hiccups that we've seen in cross-border cases? Thanks.
I cannot really speculate what the Commission will come up with and what's not. But if our wish list is taking into consideration to the extent that we are wishing for, then I think that we have quite good tools, quite good means to work on some of the procedural questions, challenges that we have met during the last years.
Okay, more questions? Here in the front.
Hi, Clotilde Goujard for Politico. You were saying that the EDPB is hitting full speed with a number of Article 65 decisions coming the EDPB's way. I'm wondering how you see the role of the EDPB developing in the next coming years, and also if you think the EDPB is equipped enough to handle these cases coming its way, as well as all these litigation. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for that question well, starting with the resources, of course. It is, of course, very important that the Secretariat will be provided with sufficient resources to handle all these Article 65 cases. I think that the main shift in EDPB's role was when the GDPR was adopted. And now it starts to show more, because this is when we got the competencies to make binding decisions. So I think that the main change or the shift in role happened back then. Of course, now for the upcoming years, like I said, we are about to have a lot of new legislation, data protection or data-related legislation. So it is for utmost importance that it is clear that it is the EDPB who makes the interpretation of the GDPR. This is very important to have a stable and coherent system.
Is it on? It's not. No.
Stephanie Bedoni from Bloomberg. I'm continuing with the Article 65 related questions. I just find it interesting that you would expect Article 65 cases to go up, to increase more and more, because also what kind of message does that send about agreements or tensions? Since GDPR came into effect, there has been a lot of news reporting, also by me, about infighting between the various national regulators, about tensions. You have been attacked by privacy activists saying, you can't agree. And I'm just thinking, with Article 65 cases expected to go up, what kind of message does that send? Shouldn't it be that those cases should go down? I'm just, pushing a bit. These are for me interesting questions to see how you see this going forward. Also, with the new proposals that the Commission is coming out with to make sure that in cross-border cases, especially, the whole procedural aspects get smoother and nicer. Is it really the case that those kind of dispute cases will go up? Thank you.
Yeah, well, to start with, the cooperation mechanism, one-stop shop, where we have one lead supervisory authority and other supervisory authority who all participate in the decision-making process, were created for first to cooperate, and then when there is a difference in the interpretation of law, to have a mechanism how to solve that. And it is not, it should not be made to anything else but a different view of how to interpret the GDPR. This is very normal when we are talking about law and the interpretation of law. Very often, even in courts, you have dissenting opinions. So I don't think that there is anything more to it. It's a normal way of cooperating and then adjusting your differing views together. When I said that I expect that there might be more Article 65 cases, it's not because I think that there would be more disagreements. It's because I think that we have now being able to put the system in full speed, and when it works as it should, that would then normally mean that the amount of cases are also increasing.
Thank you. Further questions? We have one at the back.
Hello. So in the past years, there has been a very positive evolution in terms of transparency. So there was basically no transparency at the beginning, and then we have less internal documents, more guidelines that are published. Is this a priority for you to get even more transparency and less internal documents about important issues for everybody? Thank you.
Excuse me, could you please state your name and
Yes,
the outlet?
Gloria González Fuster. I'm a research professor at the Free University of Brussels, VUB.
Sure. Thank you for the question. I believe that transparent administration is very important in the democratic society. So I'm certain that this is the direction that we will work on to take the board as well.
More questions?
Hi, I'm Ralph O'Brien, independent from the UK. Obviously, the ICO no longer a part of the EDPB. UK has left the EU because of Brexit. However, I'm sure you'll agree we're all interconnected and all interested in dealing with human rights. Outside this building, there's a message from the Open Rights Group calling on the European Commission to look at the UK's new Data Protection Digital Information Bill that I think is fair to say has some amendment and deviation from the European model. I was just wondering if there's any comment from the European Data Protection Board on any concern or thought process about the UK going forwards, especially because of its time-limited adequacy arrangement by the European Commission.
Thank you for the question, but I think that question is more for the Commission to answer.
Thank you.
More questions? Sam again, here in front.
I noted that in the recent EDPB decision, well, Irish Data Protection Commission decision against Meta about data transfers, there was the inclusion of effectively a data deletion order, and this is kind of the first time I've really become aware of this. And then also, just the day after, your authority, the Finnish authority, did a decision in relation to Google Analytics that also included a data deletion order. There are lots of people who say, particularly for a big company, that deleting data is like nearly impossible or very difficult. Do you think that's appropriate? Do you think it's a enforcement method you'd like to use more often, or see more often, or include in EDPB Article 65 decisions?
Well, thank you for that question as well. I think that it's important that we use all our powers and all our competencies. In order to delete data is, of course, one of the heaviest tools we have in the tool pack, so to say. I don't have any preference on certain types of enforcement measures or certain type of use of competencies.
More questions?
Once again, Stuart Dresner from Privacy Laws and Business Reports. There was a recent case in the Garante in Italy regarding AI, OpenAI, and their and the point is that they entered a negotiation for a month. They've asked them to pause their work for a month, and then they didn't take sanctions. They had a discussion, and after a month, the Garante said that they could continue their work but had more things to do. So I just wonder whether you will, in your new position as chair of the board, you will encourage more member states to try and resolve issues with discussion rather than imposing penalties. So, is this a possibly new strategic direction for the board? Obviously, certain cases of bad mistakes or bad errors, you have to impose sanctions. But in other cases, it's perhaps possible to reach agreement by negotiation. Also refer to a case a few years ago in the Netherlands regarding Nike running app, where they reached a discussion and reached a resolution of the problem. And recently with Tesla cars and cameras on the car, they've reached a resolution by discussion. So I just wonder whether, is this a trend which you would support?
Thank you for that question as well. it is in the end in the competencies of all of our members to decide what type of measures they take. So it is for the national data protection authorities to assess what they see as the most suitable measure in each specific case.
Okay, we have time for one or two more questions. Sarah, over there behind you.
Thanks a lot, Max Schrems with Neub. I was just a couple of questions, more administrative maybe. In practice, we see a lot of problems with the IMI not working that well, information getting lost on the way. There's very little automated enforcement, so a lot of the violations are very standard. We could probably digitalize some of the enforcement there. And a lot of the DPAs, in our experience, oftentimes don't have specific competences, need probably some more help with investigations. And there was a bit of a talk that the EDPB could have more of a role to ensure that, let's say, the IMI system is replaced with something that works better, or the interaction works better, that there could be competences on the European level that help with local investigations, if especially smaller DPAs may not have the capacity to do that. There could be systematic, like software, for example, to automatically detect stuff that only makes sense if it's really done on a European level. So that's the first kind of bulk of a question, if there is more, if we'll see more the next years that the EDPB could do that jointly also because it may be more efficient. And the second question, going back to what the question was before on sanctions, is there an attempt to probably get more evidence of what works? Because what we see when we talk to DPOs is that they have a very hard time to convince their CEOs to actually comply with the law, because there aren't the big sanctions, there aren't the big consequences. So we hear that more and more after 5 years, that it's really hard for people within the privacy community to push for stuff forward. And I think we oftentimes lack the evidence of what works, what really changes the behavior of companies. I was wondering if there's any way of getting more evidence in that direction and be smarter about how to make these decisions of sanctions, no sanctions, deletion orders, whatever it is.
Should we take more, or should I? Okay. Well, first about quite practical questions you made. I would like to once again come back to the resources of the Secretariat and the EDPB. These are, of course, all projects which also need to have good, sufficient resources. We do have the expert pool, and like you were just told, it's functioning, and it will be functioning also in the upcoming years. When it comes to what actually works, that is a interesting question also for me personally, because, for example, in Finland we cannot issue administrative fines on public sector. So this is of course a very interesting issue and question, and it probably depends of the case, which would be then the most efficient enforcement method in its case.
Okay, we have time.
If I may add something in regards to the first part of the joint investigation. Yes, you are right that this tool that is provided by the GDPR is a very useful tool, and now we have started to utilize it more. Now we have started to conduct joint investigations, and I think we could use this tool more as supervisory authorities. It's there, it's in the GDPR, and we can use it.
Thank you. And we have time for a final question.
Kindermans, Data News, Outlast, in the past freelance now. I would like to get back to the data deletion order, and indeed considering the difficulties of indeed truly deleting data, how will you actually plan to follow up whether indeed the data have been deleted and to what extent?
Well, about the deletion of data and how we are about to follow up to order. The EDPB would not normally follow up to orders systematically like that. It is the National Data Protection Authority who would then be on the first row when it comes to following up to orders.
Okay, thank you. And we will close this press conference here. But if you have any further questions, you can always contact us later on. Thank you very much.